I'd just like to welcome everyone to our review of AEW Double or Nothing 2020.
Okay, so it's day 3,764 of fucking lockdown. And according to Dan, any team in the championship can beat anyone in the Bundesliga.
Well, no, I don't think we'd beat Leipzig, but we would beat Union Berlin.
You actually said you'd hold them to a draw.
No, I was only joking. Leipzig were amazing today.
Like, the one good thing that's come out of all this, German football is back on. It's providing entertainment along with the wrestling. And all I get from him all day, Paul, is, no, tend to beat these every game.
I've not really taken up. I've not become a super Bundesliga fan like many other people have. I've kind of just let that one. I've been throwing myself into watching old wrestling, old movies and stuff. So if you ask me anything that's going on with the football at the minute, all I know is it's not happening. So
are we on air? Are we recording here?
Apparently so.
Oh, right. I thought you are not introducing the show?
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're listening to us. Thank you for listening to Neutral Wrestling. I'm Danny, and I'm really, really annoyed at the moment. Lockdown is happening, the Bundesliga is going on, Dan's getting on me tits, Paul's just being nice and his normal self. How are you today, Paul? Are you all right, mate?
I'm fine. I feel like I should start slagging off Bundesligas to feel like I can be part of the team.
Well, apparently anyone in the championship will beat anyone in the Bundesliga. So with you supporting the championship team, you'll be all right. How's you horrible little git?
I'd just like to welcome everyone to our review of AEW Double or Nothing 2020. Do you know what today is, Danny?
Today is Sunday.
Today is Sunday, May the 24th, right? And do you know what happened last time? There was a Sunday, May the 24th.
Go on.
Preston North End had their first appearance at the new Wembley, and we beat Swindon 4-0. Jimmy Beckford hat-trick. So, yeah, the last Sunday, the 24th. Right now, I was partying. Here I am. 5 years later, I'm sat here in my North End shirt. I can smell a bit of BO, and I'm talking to you two about wrestling. So, yeah.
So it was Swindon versus Preston North End?
Yeah, it was. Swindon now have League Two. Their fortunes changed. I tell you what, that North End team that day, they definitely would have beat Union Berlin with Beckford up front.
Oh, God, yeah, fair enough. I think 1860 Munich could have beat both of you, but there you go.
What happened to them?
They're Bundesliga 3, I think, or the third division.
Don't you mean Bundesliga dry?
No. No. I don't even think it is the Bundesliga. I think the Bundesliga is only the top two leagues. But yeah. So, how are you? How was your viewing experience from last night at Double or Nothing?
Me? A Tebbs?
Yes.
Well, we were sat there and we thought, are we going to get it on our Fire Stick or what? And then about 1 minute past one, we realised we're not going to get it on the Fire Stick. So I basically did a somersault onto my laptop, logged into Fight TV, paid 20 quid for the show. 20 quid. Oh, paid 20 quid for the show, went ours with it on Neil. And then, took a $5 off Neil for this competition and took a $5 off Tebbs for the prediction as well.
I still need to send you that. It was close, though. What was it in the end? Two
I
points,
beat you by 1 point.
1 point. I mean...
It was the best friends match that did it, because you went with Private Party and I had 9 points on best friends.
Well, I was watching on Zoom. There was quite a few of us on. We had a really good night, actually. Danny got very drunk. And we come in about the last 10 minutes of the pre-show, and the Private Party best friends match actually looked really good.
Yeah, I wasn't really paying much attention to it myself. I was just texting on my phone, but it looked all right. Neil messaged me saying it was all right, but Yeah, I weren't really paying attention.
Do you know what, lads? I hated it.
Really?
I just thought it looked so clumsy. There were so many bits where you sort of seen them set tag team moves up together and stuff, and I couldn't get into it at all. I don't know if it's just me being a miserable old bastard, but I couldn't get into the match at all. It just looked so awkward at times, so clumsy. And I mean, I get that, Trent looked decent. Trent looked decent enough. Chuck Taylor was hardly in it, to be honest. It was all Trent. But yeah, no, I couldn't get into it at all.
What were your overall thoughts of the show, Tebbs? Do you think it was? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you think it was a good show? Great show. Do you think it was great? Yeah. Yeah,
great show for what they've got, for what they do. For again, we're going to replay that no crowd button over and over again. But for the cards that got dealt, it was a great show.
Right. What about you, Danny? You think it was a great show?
I thought it was a fun show. It was easy to watch. I've got certain thoughts on certain matches, both good and bad. But obviously we'll go into them as the podcast explains. But overall, I thought it was very easy to watch.
Yeah, see, I thought, it was good, but like the first few matches were all right. And then that stretch of about 45 minutes where we got... we got not Britt Baker, Chris Statlander against Penelope Ford match. That was when I put on Twitter, I went to go and make some cheese on toast. They were pretty good, by the way. Red Leicester cheese.
Why do you tell people on Twitter you're going to make cheese on toast?
To show that I'm like unbiased and neutral. So went to make some cheese on toast. I don't know, I just thought I'd share my pay-per-view experience.
He represents the common man, Danny. He represents the common man. It's showing even somebody of his stature can have cheese on toast at 1 a.m.
Red Leicester. And so I got this cheese on toast, sat there, ate me cheese on toast, and I thought, just as I sat back down, the Chris Statlander got the pin. And then Sean Spears comes out, and I thought, well, I might as well go and make some more cheese on toast. We went to make some more cheese on toast.
Hang on. Did you tweet the second cheese on toast?
Yeah, did, absolutely. About 40 likes. But yeah, what I'm saying is there was just like 45 minutes that I thought, this doesn't feel like pay-per-view stuff that needed to be on the show. Like, we had Money in the Bank this month, and it was like, it wasn't the best show, but it was 2.5 hours, and I thought this show would have benefited. I don't know, what did you showed the podcast, didn't you? I know that was the preview show.
We had a lot going on, but yeah, it was absolutely fucking dreadful. For me, I could not, like, the main events were good, but it was all the piss arse around in between. I didn't enjoy any of it, so this was for me like 10 times better than Money in the Bank.
As if. See, I thought Money in the Bank was all right. It was all right, but they just it went 3.5 hours, and I just thought, if it had gone 2 hours 45 minutes, the show would have been a lot better. But what about main event? Did you love it? 5 stars. Stadium Stampede.
Are we starting with that? Are we?
Yeah, bigger story. Well, I can't be asked talking about Sean Spears' match yet. We already have. But we'll talk about the main event, and then we'll get into the card from the start. It's the main story, and it's the Stadium Stampede match.
Personally, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it as something to watch, as a one-off. It was funny. There was some good spots. There was some imaginative stuff going on. But I wanted to see these in a fucking War Games. I wanted to see a proper match between two factions that have been going back and forward for a couple of months. I didn't want a comedy spot. I wanted brutality. And obviously there's certain characters within both factions that lend themselves to comedy and to these type of matches, and I get that, and it can be done throughout the feud, but I wanted something big. I wanted something where you could hear them laying in shots. I wanted to see them at the best. For me, that wasn't that, but I still enjoyed it at the same time.
Oh, fucking hell, Danny. Gee, I thought it was brilliant. Absolutely. I thought it wasn't the time for blood and guts with everything that's going on in the world, despite what Candice Michelle might think. Do you know what I mean? I thought blood and guts weren't necessary. We got a great match, loads of comedy. I just loved it. Tebbs, come on. Please tell me you sided with me that you loved it.
No, I'm not siding against you. I'm saying I enjoyed it, but I'm saying I didn't want that match.
Right.
I didn't want that match now.
Maybe we'll get that later down the line, because I think we'll do the blood and guts match, in a few months or something.
Yeah, they started marketing the blood and guts match during March, wasn't it, when they were going to be doing it, and then all this put paid to that. So they've obviously got the plan to do that. Now, the reason I enjoyed it so much is because I think I knew what to expect. Everything that we've seen built up with Hangman Page's drinking and Vanguard 1 and Matt Hardy and every Jericho promo, it's all built up towards this. And a lot of it, it was comedy wrestling a lot of the time, but it was good fun and it was done well. It was, Meltzer said it was creative. I'd put it at that. And I kept thinking back to it all today about all the different spots that came through it. And it felt natural. There was never a moment where you were bored of watching it, like the Edge Orton match or whatever. I had great fun. A few notable exceptions, but I had great fun with it.
I just thought the Sammy Guevara is just brilliant.
Yes,
he's just the character. Is just like it's like what was that cartoon? Roadrunner and Coyote. What was it called? You'll know. You two are old. Yeah. It was just he just like it's like he dies every show where he gets like brutally attacked every show. But as soon as Hangman Page showed up with a horse at the start of the match, I just thought this is gonna be great. Like. At the point, I was sort of like, I felt like I just watched hours and hours of wrestling in a ring where it was just like a bit tacky. With like, I'm not sure if I even like the wrestlers at the side of the ring shouting and stuff.
Oh,
like,
definitely.
At first I did, but now I think it just sounds a bit tacky, a bit like I don't know. So I was ready for a match like this.
Totally the other way with that, mate. I thought it really, really added to it. And I thought putting Vicky Guerrero there was just genius. But yeah, no, I can see what you mean because it's quite formulaic. It's quite, everyone expects it now. But I honestly think it really helped.
See, I think it does. It helps, yeah. But I don't know, I think because I've watched like 7 or 8 weeks of it now. It was like the first few weeks I was like, oh, this is great, Pineapple Pete or whatever, in there with Chris Jericho. And now it's just like, oh, just shut up. Do you know what I mean? I don't need you shouting. Like,
what's it going to be like when there's 20,000 of them there then?
No, but it just feels like a bit like, I don't know, like a backyard show.
That's why he loves Japanese wrestling, because they're nice and respectful. I did have a look whilst it was going on. The pool that they ended up in. Yeah. So apparently, if you go to a Jacksonville Jaguars game, you can hire that pool for you and your 50 friends for $12,000 for one game. Jesus. But all your drinks are taken care of while you're there.
Shut up, sir.
I can't imagine wanting to sit in a pool though. Like, do you know what I mean? Can you imagine being at an Everton Liverpool derby, Danny? You've been sat there in the pool with a pina colada.
Fucking people throwing toasters in with extension leads at you.
I don't think it quite cut in. Like, imagine in the 80s if they'd have had one of them. Leeds versus Chelsea. This is Chelsea's top guys in the swimming pool.
There's just a hot tub in the corner.
Yeah, the hot tub in the shed. That probably wouldn't work. But yeah, I thought it was good, and there was some parts like the horse chasing Sammy, and then what got me was when they got in the golf cart and they were chasing him. Was seeing Bryce Remsburg. I'm not sure whether it was Rick Knox or Bryce Remsburg putting Usain Bolt to shame. Because he was running, if you look at it, he was running up next to the golf cart.
You were keeping up with it for a while and then just stumbling away afterwards, but he did well.
So it was fun. It's just not what I would have liked. However, what I will say is this went on for I think it was 35 minutes, and it didn't seem anywhere near that long. No. In a good way.
Yeah, I just wanted it to keep going. I just feel it's like there's so many like good little moments that we could let's talk about. Like, so the horse, the golf cart, the one-winged angel at the end, Hangman Page in the bar, Jericho getting the line over him, going to the what was it? Well, it's not called VAR in America, but I don't know. I just thought it was loads. The thing is, I thought. Whoever put that ring in the middle must have thought, I've got this ring in the middle of the football pitch, and they were in there for about 20 seconds. But Matt Jackson doing the assault off the football post.
There was also, and that's the good thing about having 10 people in a match, because you're never going to have a dull moment, because you've got 5 individual matches going on. So you're always going to have something, but you never thought, hang on a minute, why is Kenny Omega there when he was really back there? It was very well placed out. The narrative was right to get Jake Hager running to the same place that Hangman Page is in the bar with him, and then you naturally see Omega coming in. It was a realistic, I know it sounds daft that, but it was believable as a brawl going on. I know it was essentially comedy wrestling, but you could really buy into it and all the stories that were going on and how they all accumulated with Sammy Guevara, who deserves absolutely star of the show of that match.
Yeah, Sammy, he's just been amazing, hasn't he? I mean, it sort of paid off because, like, obviously, what was it called? This, where they had a brawl throughout Daly's place. The other week on Dynamite where they had the brawl where the golf cart incident took place or whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel like a lot of little things played into that, like the end shot of that Dynamite with the inner circle with a football field in the background. And I was sat when I fell, I was sat there thinking, wouldn't it have been great if they'd have actually gone onto the football pitch? But at the end of this show, it had the Elite in pretty much the exact same spot. You know what I mean? With the fireworks and the stadium in the backdrop. But yeah, I loved it. For me,
it was great storytelling.
It was, wasn't it? It was loads of little things just played off into it. What did you prefer, this or the Boneyard match?
Boneyard match for me.
Yeah, slightly the Boneyard match for me as well.
I'd say the Stampede.
Yeah.
I just, I can't explain it properly, but the Stampede is more of the Boneyard match had more of a sort of a cinematic quality to it that I just couldn't buy into at the time, and I still can't now, to be honest. But the Stampede for me was absolutely great. Everybody was on form. Fantastic.
Yeah. Right, I want to get your... If you disagree with me, you disagree with me, right? I'm not saying people have been like, cancel AEW, cancel this, cancel that, right? I thought they could have shown a bit more tact in like having Matt Hardy drowned and the guy out of Proud and Powerful declaring him dead after.
I was gonna say it's the elephant in the room right now. I didn't know whether to bring it up or not, but I was going to ask what you two thought about. Me personally, it's like, yeah, it could be a bit like you could use a bit more tact, but on hindsight, how long do you leave it until you want to do a spot like that? How
more than a few days.
Yeah, but yeah,
I was just sat there, Tebbs, right, and I sat there and I thought. It only emerged like a minute they'd been in the pool and they're doing it, and I just thought, oh my god, I can't believe they've done that after everything like people said about the Edge Orton thing with the Benoit thing. And I was sat there and I just thought, I can't believe it's actually been given the green light that they're gonna actually drown Matt Hardy. I mean, people, I don't think there's like you need to cancel anything or whatever, right? But I thought to myself, right, if you sat there and you're a friend of Shag Gaspard, and you just think, I'll put the wrestling show on, whatever, it might cheer me up. And you sat there and you see that, it's going to bring it back to you, innit? It's probably not something that needs to be happening within a few days of what happened. Like, I don't know, I just can't believe. If it had been WWE, there'd be a lot more commotion about it. Definitely.
Yeah, okay. First off, if one of his friends tunes in and sees somebody being drowned... Yeah, it's a horrible thing. And I'm not saying it was all right. Yeah, I think they should have done something different. One of the ways that I think they were quite clever in getting around it was the shots of Hardy underneath the water. And he was smiling to the camera and he was giving thumbs up. So every time he was put under the water, he was showing that he was not actually drowning. He was just under the water, breathing, whatever. And I think that taking away that the fact that he was struggling under the water has made a lot more people not notice that it could have been an issue. Do you know where I'm coming from?
I know what you mean, but you just don't need the water. You just forget the water. You can just have like someone sat in there, Hangman Page sat in there having a beer maybe. If you really wanted to get the fact that you've got a swimming pool at your football ground in there and a bit of comedy, you could have done that. But for like the spot wasn't great or anything what they did. I didn't think anyway. So I just don't think you needed it. I don't know, 3 days after what? Do you know what I mean? 3-4 days after, and someone's drowning on the wrestling show after a wrestler has literally just drowned. I just didn't think it was needed, but I guess someone overlooked it.
And I'm sure we'd be saying the same if a wrestler fell off a horse and then Hangman Page rode in on a horse.
Yeah, so it's like saying, look at the Benoit thing, yeah? It was, 13 years later, and it was getting heaps of criticism. This was 3 days later.
That was a week after the documentary came out, though.
It's a bit
fresh.
It was fresh, but nobody's really completely grieving like you would in the first few days. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit, you don't move on, but you know what I mean? You deal with it more than you would in that first week. But the
reason there've been more WWE people shouting about it is because there's probably a lot more people watching WWE. AEW's got similar viewing figures to NXT, so maybe just not a lot of people are watching it. I don't know. It's we'll see.
The people we have on Twitter are all watching it. Well, I have anyway. But
well, I'll be honest with you. This probably says more about me than it does about anyone else. The first time I realised and even put two and two together was when you just brought it up on this podcast.
Right. Okay.
As if so, I did. Some people might have missed it.
Like literally, I was, and you know, this is the first I've had to really think about it. But I was up having a drink and enjoying myself and watching it, having a laugh. I thought the spots underneath where Hardy was smiling and nothing was affecting him was hilarious. I laughed when I watched it because I haven't put two and two together. But it's quite.
I clicked on with the drowning thing when I read Twitter the next morning, and then somebody mentioned it. That's the time I clicked with it because not everything. A guy being drowned in a swimming pool in a comedy wrestling match versus a guy who was caught in a terrible accident. I don't know. I'm trying to make excuses.
I think I'd been sat there listening to podcasts all week about the details of it, about like, do you know what I mean? I've listened to like an hour-long podcast where they're talking about it, reading articles about it, so it was fresh on my mind. Do you know what I mean? They mention it. They mention it on commentary, on the same show. Do you know what I mean? And then to just have that spot in there, I just think it wasn't. It's not like the biggest travesty ever, but I think it was a little bit insensitive. And you didn't need it.
I can. As I say, this is the first time I've had the chance to even hear it. The people are about. I'd even put two and two together, and I think you're probably right that there was no need for it. It was a quick comedy spot. You could have done without it.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Apart from that, it was great fun.
Apart from that, it was 5 stars.
What
can I say that? Kenny Omega hitting the one-wing angel from that height to finish it, I thought was the best way because over the last few weeks and months, you guys talked about Kenny Omega, and I've heard other people talk about Kenny Omega when he was over in Japan, and I never watched him then. I saw the odd match, but I were expecting big things from him in AEW, and I hope this is his sort of launch pad on a singles. I do hope that. As much as I like him with Page, I want to see more from Kenny Omega, and I hope that's a sign. Giving him the pin and the big moment to finish it, I hope is a sign of something to come.
Yeah, might be a launching pad, maybe. I suppose if he wins the main event on their most talked about match on probably one of the biggest shows of the year, and he's the guy getting the pin, it might be a launch to something. But yeah, Danny, should we get into the rest of the show?
I was just going to talk about Stampede. One of my. What I was really impressed with, we've got to be honest with you, not even from just a purely wrestling point of view, just in terms of innovation, I really enjoyed the casino ladder match. I enjoyed the fact that it was every 2.5 minutes and somebody new was coming out. I enjoyed the fact that it was Brian Cage who come out with Taz. I thought great pairing. And I really enjoyed a lot of the Darby Allin spot with the skateboard at the start. Like literally minutes into the match was just unbelievable. You've got so many likable people in there, like Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Joey Janela, Scorpio Sky. I mean, the stuff that Scorpio Sky was doing with Orange Cassidy was funny. Jimmy Havoc getting involved, and it was all. It was really, really fun. Spots here, there, and everywhere. But I really enjoyed the format of it.
Do you think it was about 5 minutes too long? Do you think it went on a bit too long?
Yeah, maybe so. But at the same time, because it was a slow build into them. Well, slow build's probably the wrong word, but it was a match in installments. It kept my mind off it. I'm going to be honest with you. I never noticed that it went too long, but I can see where you're coming from.
I was just at a bit where after Cage had come out, and I get why they literally buried him, but if you're going to have him come out and dominate and destroy everybody and win, just have him come straight to the ring, down the ramp, like Brock Lesnar, the shit out of the place. I just think having him piled up under chairs and poker chips to then have the camera emerging out of it, I just think it wasted time, and it seemed to drag a little bit for me. And I understand why they did it though, because they wanted to give all 10 of those guys TV time and pay-per-view time, but it felt like it dragged in some parts.
I felt like I was watching a ladder match from like an Impact pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean? It was like just like not many people there, a grotty crowd, a few botched spots. I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. I'm just a bit sick of seeing ladder matches. Like, it's we've got a few guys we don't know what to do with on the call. Shove them in a ladder match. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like the gimmick of ladder matches.
There was I understand what you're saying, but there's a point to it. You debuted a new dominant character, and on his first appearance, he gets a shot at the world title.
But you could have done that in Battle Royal. You didn't have to go for I don't know, for a ladder match. I prefer to see a one-on-one ladder match where, like, say, like Jericho, Shawn Michaels, when they had it, where they're hitting each other with like ladder matches. They're just like, they used to just warm the crowd up. A few spots here and there. And we've seen it all before, except the Darby Allin spot, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. But, like, we had a botch.
I don't know whether I've ever seen somebody get thrown a ladder and a person just get thrown out the ring. It might have happened, but I may not have known about it. But I thought it was quite innovative, to be honest with you, the whole match.
I just thought it was stupid. Like, but Darby Allin could have suffered a serious injury that spot. You mean the one at the end with Brian Cage just throws him out? Yeah. I thought it was just careless, to be honest. And I don't know.
That's the Darby Allin spot that you think's careless. That's the way you draw a line. Some of the stuff I've seen him do, he'll be happy getting thrown around everywhere. I hope it would be anyway. Watch tomorrow's news come out. Darby Allin injured. What would you have him do instead then?
Just anything. A 9-person ladder match where someone comes down every 90 seconds, where they climb the ladder to grab a chip to become the number one. I just thought, I can't be arsed with it. I don't know. It's just a lot to take in. I don't know. It's ladder matches. I'm just bored. It's WWE's fault, really. They have just killed the ladder match gimmick for me. I feel like how many ladder matches have we seen in this period of I don't know, shows in front of no fans? Like, what, there was one at WrestleMania. Where was the other one? Was the Money in the Bank?
Technically, there were 2 at Money in the Bank. You had one at WrestleMania.
I feel like there's been another one somewhere in there. I feel like I've watched another ladder match, and it's just too much. I feel like every big show there's got to be a ladder match. Fucking hell, I'm sick of it. But that's just my own personal vibe.
Yeah, it can get oversaturated, I suppose. I've got to be honest though, out of all the ladder matches, and although the triple threat one at Mania was good and I enjoyed it, and that was my favourite out of the ones that have gone on recently. Looking at things, are we going to spend a lot of time on MJF, Jungle Boy? Are we just going to say MJF was his usual great heel character and move on?
I want to say I think it's the second best match on the show. I thought it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I don't know. I thought it was. I don't know. I think it was better. I've enjoyed this more than I did Moxley against Brodie Lee. I thought Jungle Boy. Normally, when I've seen him, like I don't know, he's shown like signs of like looking really good, but he's green. He doesn't. I don't know. Like I feel like he's trying to work out what he's doing next, and I didn't feel like there was any of that here. He sold the arm brilliantly. All the moves were crisp, but I loved all the little MJF little heel touches, which he always does so great, like you said, Danny. But yeah, I just thought the transitions were great. We're going from like MJF and then into a submission attempt from Jungle Boy, MJF back in. I don't know, I just thought it was really good, the fact that this was a match between, 22-year-old and a 24-year-old? I don't know, I thought to go out there and just have a really, really good babyface versus heel wrestling match. I think these two could potentially both be, top. MJF in particular could be top guys in the company, so years down the line you could be seeing this match again and again. I just thought it was my favourite match on the show, except the Stampede match anyway. Thought it was really, really good. But yeah.
Tebbs?
Completely agree. MJF is fantastic. The one thing that I remember from this, two things: where he went off the top rope and landed on his knee, and then they're having to take a moment to get the doctor in, and it's obviously just a heel trick and sneak. I just think it's fantastic. All those little theatrics that he does. MJF is absolutely fantastic. And there was it a powerbomb, or was it a Hurricane Rana?
The Hurricane Rana, yeah, onto the ring.
Onto the edge of the ring, yeah. Amazing. And the agility and the skill. And like you said, I keep having to check because I think they're older than they are. I'm expecting these guys to be, pushing 30. The early 20s, this is like, they've got another 20 years in them. And if there's more of this to come between these two in classic singles, one-on-one heel face wrestling, fantastic.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I actually literally, when that spot happened, normally I try and be quiet when it's on because it's like 2 a.m. or whatever. I literally went, I thought, is he actually all right? He looked like he landed right on his head. But yeah, you've got Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara. They seem to keep having matches. Do you know what I mean? Really good matches, two young guys. And then you've got these two keep having matches. They had a match on TV. I think I've seen them have a match in PWG. But yeah, just really good, really, really good stuff. That, like I said, this was my favourite match on the show. Cody Archer. Did you two like it?
Oh, what? I actually enjoyed the match. I didn't think they'd go with Cody for the title. I'll be honest with you. But two major things aside from the match: the belt is fucking awful, god awful. I mean, I know JR had said that it wasn't finished and they were going to put more plates on it or something, but it looked fucking awful. Secondly, why the fuck was Mike Tyson there?
It was so random, wasn't it?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Tyson. I grew up in the Tyson era. When you see that bastard going into the ring with just wearing his black shorts and fucking LL Cool J, Mama said knock you out, blasting. I love Mike Tyson. But if you're going to have Mike Tyson at a wrestling show, you get him to fucking punch someone.
Yeah. He was just an afterthought, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Lance Archer, Cody Rhodes, it doesn't matter which one. Either, all right, I wouldn't suggest punching Arn Anderson or Jake Roberts because he probably can't throw a working punch. But if Mike Tyson hits someone with the 30% power, then I'm sure either Cody or especially Lance Archer could take it if it was pulled. I just don't see... And then when he got his Gansey off and he's just standing there and he doesn't quite know what to do, so he just poses. And then the match finished and then he posed. And you're just like, that was poor. You've got Mike fucking Tyson. Great stuff. Just do something with him rather than have him laughing at ringside.
I was hoping, Danny, that he'd... when Sammy Guevara was running away from the horse... I was hoping that like Mike Tyson would just be lurking in the back and just give him like a right hand or something, because they're doing this thing where Guevara seems to die on every show. Yeah, but yeah, they just didn't.
They were two big takeaways from aside from the match. The match I thought was all right. It was It was a decent match to watch. I think it went on a little long, but other than that, I can't say it was bad personally. But what did you think, Dan?
Like you say, I'm just looking at my notes. Too long. Wrong winner. Tyson was yawning. That's my notes on the match. It went far too long.
The cut to him yawning. I mean, come on. Was he a special enforcer or guest enforcer or something?
He was just there to present the belt, I think. I mean, at the start, he had that memorable gif that you've seen all over Twitter today, where like Lance Archer is like beating up someone in the ring, and he just goes to Tyson, and he just like nods and has a grin on him. Like, that was great. But when he goes to him and he's yawning, I just thought, oh my God. I know how we felt at 2:00 in the morning watching a 20-minute Cody Rhodes Lance Archer match. I shouldn't say that, actually, because I like both of them, but I just felt like the match just went too... We didn't need a 20-minute match, third on the card in what was going to be a 3.5-hour show. And in front of no crowd, if we haven't already mentioned.
For me, I hate those matches that there's too much interference. And Roberts got involved too much. The snake came out. And Tyson were getting up, then Arn Anderson was sent to the back, then another referee came down. It was like, these two should have been good enough to have a match and use a bit of psychology and shit of having him DDT him in front of Jake, but it just relied too much on the people outside rather than the two inside the ring who were doing fantastic stuff. It just, my attention kept getting brought to the people who were stood around outside the ring. And God, yeah, that belt. How do you go from that AEW title, whoever designed that, to the one that was whipped up on clip art that they've got now? I don't get it. How can you just have two such contrasting styles for your titles? I don't know.
It was weird, wasn't it? I mean, as soon as JR's making excuses, do you know what I mean? Where he's like, oh, well, there's more plates getting on. It's like that guy who's like talked about how he's been meeting this really good looking bird for months to all his mates. She shows up at the pub and he's like, oh, she was working late last night. That's why she looked a mess. But... yeah.
Fucking hell. Right, I think we should probably group together and just get some quick thoughts on the Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford, which was supposed to be Dr. Britt Baker, Dustin Rhodes versus Sean Spears, and the no DQ, no count out for the women's title, Shida versus Nyla Rose. On the Shida-Nyla Rose match, I'm glad that they've got the title off Nyla Rose. I think that at this point it was directionless. The storylines were directionless. I wasn't involved or invested in the character. So I'm glad that they've moved the belt over. Again, I feel like a bit of a hypocrite by saying this, but I felt because I like time where people are given time in the ring. But again, I felt this was given a bit too much time. Dustin Rhodes versus Sean Spears, it was far too short for me. And then Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford, could not give a flying fuck.
I didn't see any of it. I was making me cheese on toast. The women's title match was all right, but the first two matches, I was just in and out of the kitchen, really.
You were live tweeting your cheese on toast making.
Yeah, I had. I went in, right? I had 2 slices of white bread, cheese on, right? With bit of red sauce on it, red Leicester, right? And I sat there, I went back, and I thought, there's another loaf there. Should I open it? So I got the crust, got some cheese on that, and mayo.
So you ate an entire loaf and then opened another one?
I had 5 slices of bread with cheese on. But with different variations of sauce. Like I had mayo on one, brown sauce on another, and what are you laughing at, Tebbs? And ketchup on another. So I had a great time. So,
out of 5 stars, which sauce would have got the 5-star match out of all them? Because it seems like we're not bothering talking about fucking wrestling today.
Well, the ketchup was reduced salt from Morrison's, so the brown sauce was HP.
Oh.
Yeah, HP ones.
You see, there we go. If the HP wasn't reduced salt and it was at the Tokyo Dome, it would have got 7. I'm convinced. Tebbs, what's your thoughts on those 3 matches, mate?
I was going to say HP Fruity. Get a bit of HP Fruity under your
Not down matches.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant the cheese on toast. Right. Okay. seeded Rose, yeah, I can buy into Rose being a dominant champ. I can buy into her being, for the next couple of months, hold on to the title, beat everybody in front of her, because the women's division, I don't see many other people to step up in a minute. So, yeah, if they're going to get the belt off somebody, fair enough. The match didn't excite me. It is what it is. Dustin Rose Spears, I think one of them was there because he got a favour from his brother, and I think the other one has now been resigned to being the exact same he was in WWE before he left. That match was just, it wasn't even a match. It was embarrassing. It was old ideas recycled to fill 10 minutes on an overly long show. And Statlander Ford, that's when I said about the women's division. That was a match that you'd see on NXT between their women's roster on a normal episode. And when you take Baker out for 6 or 8 weeks, and then you think, who have we got to step up to fill that void? And you get a match that all three of us who are wrestling fans here just go, nah, I can't bother. It just shows the lack of depth, and I think they're going to struggle. I think that women's division is really going to struggle if they have another couple of injuries.
This is what I was just about to put to you. Do AEW have the worst women's division in American wrestling?
Well, it's worse than WWE. It's worse than NXT. Ring of Honor, have they still got their women's division?
Yeah, they've got it floating. Obviously, things are different there. They're not doing shows at the minute. But even if you look at NWA, and you've got the likes of Allysin Kay at NWA, Impact have always had a decent, if not good, roster of female talent. But at NWA, Allysin Kay, they've got Melina, who's actually put on some really good shows. They've got Holodead, and they've got a couple of good women there. I honestly think AEW has the worst women's division in American wrestling.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anyone I like in it. I mean, Britt Baker's character's been good recently, but no one else. The girl who was ringside was showing a lot of personality. Is it Big Swole or whatever?
Yeah,
Big Swole.
But
they've not introduced them to us, have they? I don't know anything about any of them except Britt Baker. It's like...
I was just about to say, can anyone remember? And I'm not sure whether it's just me or I've missed something. Weren't we supposed to get an Aja Kong versus Awesome Kong match? Something that I would love to see. Two absolute the big women of wrestling. I'm sure we were supposed to get a match between the two of them, and it's just gone radio silent, unless I've missed something.
Awesome Kong went, didn't she? I think did she retire or something?
Was that when it was part of the Nightmare Collective, or just before that?
Yeah, they scrapped it, didn't they?
They scrapped that, and Brandy Rose suddenly face turned overnight. And
the Aja Kong thing was last summer, actually, before Dynamite even started. It was at one of those three, them 3 early pay-per-views, like Fyter Fest or something. It was at one of them, I think.
Well, what are we all thinking then? Next one is to talk about is the world title match, Jon Moxley versus Brodie Lee. Something that I've just only last night cottoned onto was the fact that Brodie Lee was Brodie Lee on the indie scene before he went to WWE. And then when he went to WWE, he was Luke Harper, and obviously he's back to being Brodie Lee now. And so his surnames, his gimmick surnames, spell out Harper Lee, for the author of To Kill a Mockingbird, which is obviously quite, it's a classic book.
Yeah.
But I never, and I double checked, and he'd done it on purpose because he's one of his favourite authors. I just thought, Harper Lee is a very, very, it's a well-known name, but it's also not a common name. You should be able to put the two of them together when one person is doing that. And it was only last night that I realised.
I studied that To Kill a Mockingbird at A-level, and I did not even click with that. So, yeah. No.
So the same as me, yeah. Mind you, this is the same dude who, it was only about 4 or 5 years ago that I realised why Paul Bearer was called Paul Bearer.
Okay, are we having a group confessional? This is the guy who 4 or 5 years ago clicked on Dusty Rhodes. The deep down Dusty Rhodes. I didn't even.
I've got no idea what. any of
I've
you
just-
are talking about.
Puns
Wow.
in names.
Okay.
Paul Bearer, actually, yeah, I know what you mean. Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer. Yeah.
I
Dusty
don't know
Rhodes.
What's Dusty Rhodes?
Dusty.
For fuck's sake.
So when you travel around Alabama and the deep south of America, and the roads that you drive on are quite dusty. His name is Dusty Rhodes. Okay, sorry, what were we saying, Danny?
Yeah, so this Bundesliga, anyway, great league. Going back to Moxley and Brodie Lee before I went off on a tangent, that AEW, going from that TNT World Title or TNT Television Championship to looking at that belt, it's a beautiful looking belt. I enjoyed the match. I don't think it was overly good. I don't think it was overly bad. Nice to see Jon Moxley getting the win. But I can't say that it was great, or I can't say that it was particularly poor. I just quite enjoyed it, and it was the perfect build to what was then the Stadium Stampede match.
I thought it was good. It was good. I thought Brodie Lee looked pretty good in there. I don't like his attire, which we've spoke about before, Danny.
But you see, yeah. I preferred what he was wearing last night to what he's been wearing before, and I've never seen him wear that kind of gear like that. But I preferred it to what he has been wearing.
Yeah, it was better, but it wasn't. Yeah, we both agree on that. But yeah, I thought it was a good showing. I thought they had a good match. I don't know. I feel like I just watched that much wrestling that wasn't particularly great. I was zoning out. I was looking at my phone. I was ready for the Stadium Stampede match. I don't know. I just wasn't really feeling it. I thought it was all right. What I will say, though, in terms of... So the match was good, right? But you've debuted these two characters, at the same period. Do you know what I mean? They'll be remembered to being debuted in front of, the empty arenas in Brodie Lee and Lance Archer, two big men. And you've had them both lose on the first big show. Like, I get why Brodie Lee lost, and I did think they did a good job of not... I really love the finish of the match. Yeah. They made Brodie Lee look really strong, kicking out at one and stuff, and he passed out or whatever. He didn't actually tap or take a pinfall. So I thought they did a really good job with him, maybe not so with Lance Archer. But I feel like if you was going to have Brodie Lee lose, then you should have had Lance Archer win. But to just have both of them lose, both of you big men lose, and then what we're going to have, the other big man, Brian Cage, probably lose to Jon Moxley at Fyter Fest. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen... If Lee had to have lost this match, I'd have liked to see Archer just win in 6 or 7 minutes in dominant fashion versus Cody Rhodes, and then go with the whole Cody's like, well, I lost the main event title match against Jericho, I've lost the TNT title match. I don't know if the job's getting the better of me. They could have gone with that story going forward. Instead, Cody's won the belt. I know we're talking about the Brodie Lee match, but Cody's won the belt. It's like, where do we go from here? Where does Brodie Lee go from here? Where does Lance Archer go from here?
That's it. And if you look going forward now, your champions are all faces, and from the traditionalist in me always enjoys the fact that you have a heel champion and a face, a face chasing them and trying to get the best. But I've always loved it having a heel champion, and to have all the belts held by faces,
all four.
Mm-hmm.
I never even thought of that, Dan. Yeah, because you've got Shida, you've got Hangman Page and Omega. Yeah, I know what. And is that going to change? Because they probably won't do a title switch at Fyter Fest because it's not really like a big. The next big pay-per-view is All Out. So unless they do something on TV, they're going to have to. You can't have 100% worth of babyface champions. But Tebbs, did you enjoy the match?
But that can I just say as well before we go, if you look at the number one contenders for the tag titles as well, the faces.
Good point, best friends, yeah. Pinnock. It's all gone to shit.
Sorry, Tebbs, go on, mate. I interrupted you. You at the...
No, just thinking there. So we've now got belt on Cody, belt on Omega, belt on Hangman. We need the Bucks to win the tag titles and Brandy to win the women's title, and everything will be all right. The main event, yeah, it was just a brawl, and the main thing I was relieved at was the Dark Order not getting involved. I didn't want Brodie Lee to be this big, powerful heel who relies on his underlings to win it for him. I like the fact that he went out sort of getting choked out. He refused to quit, couldn't get him pinned, but he didn't have anybody run in and save the match for him. And I think that adds to his character. I just hope he casts that off. I'd just love to see him as this dominating figure. I just don't think he needs all those minions with him, but we'll see. I wonder if that's when you say what's next for Brodie Lee. Well, the elite inner circle is only going to go so far. So you've got the Dark Order, maybe against the elite or something. I don't know where it's good. There's lots of options. I think they've got more options right now for future storylines than WWE has. They're already having to cross the rosters over because they've run out of matches. So the shorter screen time that AEW have to fill each week, I think they've got a lot of opportunities that are going to be fresh. I think they're going to be the ones to watch over the summer.
Yeah. But I would still like to see that big blow-off serious match between the Inner Circle and the Elite. The one that we were, that unfortunately had to be cancelled, blood and guts. But I don't know. But as I say, you've got faces backing up as the dominant or the ones challenging or champions. It's a bit of a strange one. Maybe Brian Cage can step up, but then again, it seems a bit of a waste to throw Jon Moxley's title run to Brian Cage. One thing I did catch on last night. I feel a bit sorry for Jon Moxley. Obviously, when he was in WWE champion, he had that thing with Stone Cold on the podcast where Stone Cold basically called him out, said he should be doing more and taking more risks. And now he's got his second, his chance to prove that wrong and to go ahead. And all of a sudden this pandemic hits and he's not getting the reactions because part of his intense character is the reactions of the crowd. And his title run at the moment is just seeming a little bit,
Yeah. Again, he needs something. Some people do need the crowd, and Moxley is one that does. But it's one of the things. There's nothing you can do.
Look at the way he comes to the ring. He comes to the ring through the crowd. He is part of the crowd. That for me, he comes out of the crowd. He is one of them that comes to the ring. He doesn't come down the ramp like the rest of them. He always comes from a different area from his, from the fans. And if those fans aren't there, it leaves a bloke who's on his own. And I think it's there's so much more he could be doing. But we're just going to start playing that same record again, aren't we?
It's like who we were saying about you maybe give the belt to Cage or whatever, a heel. For me, you can't put. He's nowhere near ready. Do you know what I mean? I think the only two people in my head I was thinking when you was talking then, Donnie, who actually would be fitting to take the belt off Moxley. And for me, you're probably not go back to Chris Jericho, yeah, right? You've got Hangman Page, who I think on the first show back in front of crowds, the first pay-per-view should be the guy who wins the belt. But the only other one that I could think is Omega. Do you know what I mean? You go back to Moxley, Omega, and Omega could maybe take the belt off him. But again, that's two baby faces. So yeah, it is.
I'd have Cage winning it. Have Cage winning it at Fight Fest, and by the time the crowds come back, you've then got the pop of having a face win the belt off him. So you can still put the belt on Cage over the summer, and still get that pop for when everyone comes back.
I just think Lee and Archer are better options, for having your main event title than Cage. I mean, I just don't think he's... I don't know. Even Impact only trusted him to have the belt for a month or two. I just don't think... I think Archer should have been the one maybe for the heel run with a belt, just beating everyone, and then maybe you drop it back. But...
I think the only one who really could come in and do it, but again, because of travel restrictions, might not be able to, is Pac. He's the perfect heel to go to run it, and somebody who can keep interest during this period. But then, when we do get back to normal, have the great hit, the face win the title in front of the crowd, and maybe give that to Moxley to win it back. I don't know, or a rejuvenated Kenny Omega. The one thing I'm going to move slightly off the Double or Nothing, we had some news this morning come out from Japan to say that events as of tomorrow can start having 50 people in them. Within 2 weeks, 100 people. And then 2 weeks after that, events with 1,000 people in attendance. This will give New Japan the go-ahead. I know they were talking about running some dojo shows for a couple of weeks, and then moving forward, have these socially distanced crowds of up to 1,000 people in 4 weeks' time. What are your thoughts on that, boys? Just quickly, I'll start with Dan because I know you're, out of the two of you, you're more the Japanese heavy.
Yeah, great. Do you know what I mean? The Olympics have been cancelled, so get the G1 running throughout the summer. Give us something. Give us the G1. We don't need to be in October anymore. I think the G1 would work in front of no crowd, to be honest. The top guys in New Japan are good enough to work in front of nobody. So, yeah, give us the G1 throughout the summer.
And Tebbs?
Yeah, if that's what they're saying, that's what they're saying. If they want to put the shows on, fantastic. Like I say, I don't really follow the New Japan. I normally know there's a show coming on when you lot start talking about it. So any more wrestling to watch at this time is fantastic. I just hope, as long as it's done safe and as long as everyone's looked after, then go for it. And if people want to go and watch it and wear the masks and they want to take the risk, off you go.
We've been Neutral Wrestling. This has been our Double or Nothing review. If you'd like to, please go and subscribe. Please leave us a rating and please follow us on social media. Our Twitter handle is
@NeutralRes.
And what else would we like to plug? The YouTube channel?
Yeah, subscribe on YouTube, www.patreon.com/Neutral Wrestling. Check Tebbs' movie podcast out. Follow that on Twitter, which is
at Pod Movie Chef on YouTube as well now. YouTube Superstars.
Yeah, listen to me give an in-depth movie review like no movie critic out there could do.
All right, boys. Well, listen, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good week, y'all.